First one is in Application Builder, there's like different places where you can put the CSS classes in, like layout columns, appearance classes, or advanced CSS classes, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, how does that relate to specificity, right?
Great question. So specificity is completely unrelated to these different properties. Specificity is directly maps to the actual CSS selector that's being used. So what I mean by that is, if I open up a CSS document, specificity just relates to what this selector looks like. So if I said my class dot other class h1, and then I have an ID in here called foo, when I mouse over this, and it should calculate specificity for me. There it is. The specificity of this selector is 1, 2, 1. I have one ID, foo. I have, two classes, my class and other class, and I have one element that I'm referencing directly, an H1. So basically, all specificity does is look at the selector, see kind of the distinct instances of classes, tag selectors and IDs, computes a score, and that's what the browser uses. Nothing to do with the actual where exactly it's placed in Apex. I hope that answered that question.
Yep, that should be perfect. Another one that I have is it possible to use selectors based on element data value and then apply CSS based on that, like application user, for example?
So it is possible that you could target a particular attribute. The way that you would do that is you would say, maybe you have some class, my class, but then you could potentially look at, data dash my data, and then that would then potentially trigger. So if I had something like data dash employee number. So if it has an employee number data, then I would say that it's whatever color is red. If I wanted to look for a specific value, say I wanted to say data dash, and there is just a Boolean flag to say, is awesome, or oh no, I'll do something better. I'll say status, and I'll set equals, and the actual status is danger. Well, now I have a status of data of danger, and it's going to make the color red. If this is what you were doing, I would probably just use a CSS class anyway. Generally speaking, when it comes to data attributes, that should relate to application logic and how JavaScript is going to process things, and less related to how exactly things are going to look. So in other words, I would probably just add a class called isDanger that is completely unrelated to my data, and that would control my color, and I could use my data for something else. So try not to conflate data with presentation, right?
I agree, and I think it's also probably meant to be like, if you use it, for example, Tyson, and if you use a Lino, that you get different CSS applied. So you know how app ID is usually, or user ID and username is usually on the top right corner. So if it was ulog, then you want to apply blue CSS, and if you want to apply red CSS.
Exactly.